Hello guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Devin K. I'm a rookie competitive RC drifter and wannabe professional RC body painter. I started painting RC bodies about a year ago and I've done 10 this year. And in this video I'm going to be showing you all of the bodies that I've painted, going a little bit over the techniques that I use to accomplish the various effects, sharing the mistakes and lessons, and hopefully through this I show you some nice artwork and accelerate your process of becoming a talented RC body painter. So without further ado, I'm going to show you guys where it all started. So this is where it all started for me. R34, bought at Rolling Garage, my local shop. Good old Mitch helped me set it up. And you might be thinking, wait a minute, you didn't paint this. That's a killer body. Those come pre-painted. And you're right, I didn't paint this. Ha, gotcha. Here is the first body that I did paint. A Toyota 2000 GT. And I went for being my first body. I kept it simple. All I wanted was a fade. You can see it fades from metallic green to anodized aluminum blue. And I wanted a stripe. And this was my first attempt at both of those. And on top of that, I did chrome trim using a paint pen on the interior. And then you can see I also used some very thin trim tape to give the trim lines there. You can see that. So this was my first foray into RC body painting. I wanted to just have a simple, basic paint job that would teach me the fundamentals and teach me some core skills. The mistakes I made on this one are very evident in the front bumper with the uneven application of the chrome paint on the inside. The solution to that, which I learned and deployed on a body you'll see a little bit later, is to do the chrome on the exterior. You know, when that film is still on there, you use an X-Acto to cut the part off that you want to do chrome on, and then you paint the chrome on the exterior. It looks a lot better that way, and you get a much more even application. So this is the first body I did, Toyota 2000 GT. This was my main body for a long time, and it's what really got me fired up because I just loved the process and I loved seeing the finished product. So the next one I have to show you guys is actually not a drift car, but a crawler. And I don't think I need to tell you that I jacked this one up pretty badly. So here I was going for more complex fade effects. I wanted a multicolor fade. However, I applied too much paint, for one. This paint's on here real thick, excuse me. And also, when I was attempting to accelerate the drying process with my heat gun, you can see what happened there. So this was a fail, but still got a pretty nice looking part, like with the candy apple red and the purple and the pink. It's still kind of. So this is me beginning to develop my style a little bit. I really like these reds and pinks and purples a lot. I really like the metallics. This one I liked this one so much, I was like, okay, I need to attempt this again and get it right. So I did that later down the line, but in between, I built another drift body, and let me show you that one. Boom. Buick Grand National, baby. This body was probably the easiest one to paint for obvious reasons. It's all black. Just a little bit of masking required on headlights and windows, but other than that, it was just a one-can job. Piece of cake. Inspired by Kendrick. This one I felt like I kind of nailed it. Like, it's hard to mess this up, but just in terms of getting the amount of paint sprayed on there correct. Like, I had oversprayed a lot on the previous bodies I'd done. And then just making sure all my masking was really tight, you know. That's all I really focused on with this body. Good practice. Good one to have in the arsenal. This one lives on my LP86 now. It's an outdoor car. All right, back to the crawlers. This was my take 2 on the pink, purple, silver, multicolor fade stuff. First time really playing with like the stickers. Not a huge fan of the stickered out look, the busy look. I'm personally not my taste, but figured may as well try it out and do one. And the lessons learned on this one, once again, I was dealing with overspray. This was a Spastics color that requires a pretty specific process, and this was where I learned, okay, I actually need to follow the instructions, because if you don't do it right, it doesn't look right. Can't blame the painter if you're not following the instructions, or can't blame the paint manufacturer if the painter's not following the instructions. But other than that, yeah, just this is me really loving the shiny metallics, loving the fades. Not much else to say about this one. Just a little more progress. Every body is progress. Every time you do a body, you level up a little bit. The next one I got for you guys, another crawler. But I wanted to go on the other side of the color wheel with this one. So we have cobalt to metallic blue to a color changing purple green. You can see how this rear goes from like purple to green. It's really wild. I loved this one. This is one of my favorites. I have it on a little crawler that has white wheels, and I just think it looks super tough. Great. This is actually a real common color fade that you see on a lot of drift cars. I might do a drift car this way one day. But this one, the biggest thing that I learned was like I gotta chill out with how much I was spraying. I was spraying too close, too much, and too frequently, and it's like you gotta be patient. Dust it on there, wait 10 minutes, dust it on there. It's important to have something else to do when you're painting so that you don't get impatient and you don't rush the process and start putting on your coats too early, because that causes the paint to like glob up and run and swirl, and it just makes things look messier. So if you dust it on there and take your time, it'll look a lot cleaner. All right, the next one I have for you guys, continuing in the theme of the fades, I wanted to do a fade that goes in multi-directions. So we go from bottom to top, we fade from white to silver. And then these stripes, you can see fade from purple to blue. And they don't all go in the same direction. Some of them are fading, you know, front to back in one color, and then some of them are fading back to front. So I think I'll use that color changing purple in there too. You can see it going from like purple to green. So this is me just loving paint. At this point when I made this body, I was so in love with these metallic paints, with making cool fades. This is the one where I was like, okay, yeah, I'm going to become a painting guy. This is my thing. I love this process. Obviously, you can see my tape lines are not perfectly straight. You know, you see a little bit of bobble in the paint line. I have to admit, that's just because this being like an off-road buggy, I wasn't taking it super serious to make it perfect because I knew it was going to get dirty. But obviously, if you don't want to have that wobbly look, you got to be super careful laying down your masking so that you don't get uneven lines and stuff like that. But you know, if you're doing a beater body and you don't care, then don't care. So yeah, this one was from my Techno EB410. Little multi-directional fade there with some stripes. Really coming into my skills a little bit with this one, I felt like. Next one. So this one, talking about coming into my skills, this is the one that I made when I really started to feel confident and I wanted to really do something creative and expressive. This is a Ken Mary Skyline, and let me just give you a little spin around here. This is the one that I used to compete in the RC Drift Federation Finals at Rolling Garage. And I did a lot on this one, as you can see. Some mistakes were made, some things I really nailed. So let's go piece by piece. First off, this was the first time I had done a custom hand-drawn, hand-cut stencil. So I actually drew and cut these flames myself. I'm not particularly fond of that one there, but whatever. Overall, I like these flames. I've been drawing flames a lot since I was a kid, and it felt cool to finally put them on a car. I also hand drew and hand cut the stencil for this rising sun. As you can see, I used a marbling technique to get a burning sun effect there, and I used candy apple red, gold, silver, and black. I marbled on the candy apple red and gold, and then I backed it in part of it in black and part of it in gold. So you can see how it has that like kind of dark spot if you look at it from the right angle. But this made me fall in love with the marbling effect. Just how it looks so different depending on the angle and how it catches the light. I'm just like, oh gosh, I need to do more of that on a car. So I did the marbling effect, and then you can see also these sunbeams fade from like blue to purple to pink, and they go all the way down. This kind of came to me in a stroke of inspiration, cutting the window stickers to follow the line of the sunbeam. I was pretty proud of that. Got some compliments on that. I haven't seen anyone do that before. You can see I did silver trim. So the trim around the windows and on the fenders is exterior paint pen, like I was talking about earlier. The trim around the sunbeams is vinyl foil. So two different two different chrome techniques on display here. But basically the reason why I did this vinyl foil is because my lines that I had cut from my stencil were a little bit rough from where the paint had bled a little bit underneath. So I just hid those lines and cleaned them up, and it looks a lot nicer. Little gold tooth touch there. I just went for a clean side panel. I might add like, you know, stickers on this at some point, but I kind of like it having that mullet look of like the clean cut sides and then bangs in the front and then a long party in the back. You know, this is kind of a mullet mobile. And I was going for sort of a blend of Japanese and American styling. You know, these hot rod flames, very American. Obviously the Rising Sun's very Japanese style thing. This Ken Mary Skyline historically was a very American inspired Japanese style hot rod, so I thought it would be cool to blend the two artistic styles and also give it that 70s disco vibe with all the shine and glam. So very proud of this one. I wanted to display all of my techniques and use new techniques that I'd never used. So this is the first time I'd done hand cut stencils and my first time doing a marbling effect. After that one, I got into outdoor drifting. I got myself an LP86 chassis. So naturally, I needed an 8.6 body. This is the Yokomo 8.6, and I have to admit, I kind of butchered this one. You can see I cut off the side skirts and body kit on this because my 8.6 chassis rolls so much that the low profile body kit was just scraping on the ground, and it wasn't working for the way I was setting up my car. So I kind of hacked it up. Not super happy with that, but paint wise, I just wanted to do a simple two-tone metallic red because I don't have a ton of red cars, and I used Corsa gray, but I did like a just a quick like spritz of that color changing amethyst color just to give it some like flecky flake in the gray, and I think that came out nice. Not a whole lot of mistakes were made on this one paint wise. Simple two tones are a piece of cake. I would recommend this type of paint job to beginners rather than doing the fade stuff or anything more complex. This just helps you get the hang of like simple masking and using two colors. But anyway, this was the second to last body I did this year, and I would like to showcase the last one I did this year. My magnum opus of 2025. Trying to both deploy all of the new techniques I learned and introduce additional techniques into my arsenal. Here is my Pandem GR86. Oof, let me put you guys back on the tripod. I don't know what I was thinking there. Pandem GR86. So right off the rip, we have the hand stenciled Reaper design that starts out black and then fades to like a marbled amethyst color, Spastix amethyst blended with Tamiya purple. I used a paint splatter effect to kind of give like the impression of like blood mist, because I put a black hole on the roof. You guys know how this technique is done. You just make a round mask, splatter the white paint around that as the first layer, and then back it with black. Boom, you get a black hole. There was some overspatter from doing that was not intended, but by accident it worked out great and ended up giving this sort of cosmic look of like there being a nebula with stars forming in it. So the marbling in the front begins with amethyst and purple backed in black, and then we go to reds and pinks backed in black, and then I fade the backing from black to white, as you can see here. So the backing fades from black to white to gold, as the marbling fades from purple to red to pink to orange to like fluorescent orange. So lots of stuff going on there. You have a faded backer and you have a faded marble, and that's how you get that real eye-popping cosmic look. And the way that what marbling is, if you're not aware, is basically you dab the paint on rather than spraying it on directly. In this case, I dabbed it on with just like a grocery bag. And I got some of these like real swirly effects by simply just using too much and then letting it flow on there, you know, like it was like kind of puddled up, but it was swirling together and mixing up, and I was like, that's cool, I'll allow it. And I'm really glad I did, because look, we got this like pillars of creation, nebula, galaxy look going on. So the story of this one is black hole is spaghettifying all the life forms within its radius, bringing death and new creation. And that is my magnum opus RC body paint job of 2025. Thank you very much if you watched so far. I can't believe I spent 20 minutes yapping about my RC cars, but hopefully you learned a little bit. Hopefully you gained a little bit of inspiration. And if you made it this far, thank you very much for watching. And I hope to put out more stuff like this soon. Have a great day.